So the co-founder of one of NVIDIA's biggest partners just got arrested for smuggling $2.5 billion in banned AI chips to China. If you thought you made a bad work mistake this week, then just put that in perspective. The operation involved fake companies, dummy servers, hair dryers, sobbing emojis, an auditor who was offsite being entertained instead of doing his job. This reads like a heist movie, something closer to The Hangover than Reservoir Dogs, but it's actually a federal indictment. DOJ unsealed charges yesterday against Wally Liu, a 71-year-old co-founder of Supermicro Computer, which is one of the most important companies in the AI infrastructure ecosystem. Supermicro builds the servers that houses NVIDIA's chips. They account for roughly 9% of NVIDIA's revenue. I don't know what percentage of that the smuggled chips account for. Liu controls $464 million in company stock. He was arrested in California and released on bail. A second defendant, a sales manager in Supermicro's Taiwan office, is a fugitive, and a third, described by prosecutors as a fixer, is in custody. And I, for one, cannot wait to see this Netflix movie. So the charges are conspiring to violate export control laws, smuggling goods from the United States, and conspiring to defraud the US government. Maximum combined sentence is 30 years. And given the scale, which is pretty big at $2.5 billion, national security implications, and what prosecutors are calling a systematic scheme, which could be a good name for the Netflix movie, legal experts say Liu is likely looking at a substantial prison term, even with a plea deal. This is the largest AI export control prosecution in history. Why would a 71-year-old co-founder sitting on $464 million in stock risk everything? I don't think you'll find the answer in Breaking Bad. The answer is demand. Chinese companies are desperate for advanced AI chips. They can't make them domestically. Huawei is years behind. And while they're making gains, the markup on banned NVIDIA hardware in China is enormous. These chips sell at massive premiums on the black market because there is no legal alternative. Liu was using the smuggling pipeline to also negotiate with NVIDIA for more allocation of their newest B200 chips, really playing both sides. So he wasn't just moving inventory, he was also scaling the business. Some would say a smart move if he didn't get caught. The illegal market for AI chips in China, meanwhile, is so lucrative that a billionaire co-founder of a publicly traded company allegedly decided that the margins were worth the risk of federal prison. I really hope he got some good time on the yacht. Here's how the operation worked. Since 2022, the US has banned the sale of advanced AI chips, specifically NVIDIA's B200 and H200 processors, to China without a government license. These are the chips that train frontier AI models, and the export controls exist because the US considers them a national security asset. Now, Liu and his co-conspirators allegedly set up a pipeline. They directed a company in Southeast Asia to place orders with Supermicro as if the servers were for that company's own operations. The servers were assembled in the US with NVIDIA's most advanced chips inside and were shipped to Supermicro's facilities in Taiwan, then forwarded to the shell company. Quite an expensive Trojan horse. From there, a logistics firm stripped the identifying packaging, put the servers in unmarked boxes, and shipped them to their real destination, which is China. The $2.5 billion worth of servers moved through this pipeline. $510 million of that shipped in a 3-week window between late April and mid-May of last year, which is right before the new export rules were set to take effect. They were racing against the clock. Here's where it gets absurd. Potentially, this is a movie that Judd Apatow would write, or Seth Rogen. So to fool Supermicro's own compliance team, the defendants maintained thousands of non-working dummy servers at the shell company's warehouses. The real servers were already in China. DOJ released surveillance footage showing 2 of the defendants physically preparing the boxes. They used a hairdryer to peel serial number stickers off the real server packaging and reapply them onto the dummy boxes. $2.5 billion worth of national security hardware on camera. They used the same dummy servers when a U.S. Department of Commerce inspector came to visit. So a federal export control officer looked at fake servers and said, "You're good to go, guys." One auditor who was supposed to verify compliance actually never visited the warehouse at all. He was, according to the indictment, off-site enjoying entertainment paid for by the shell company. I need to know what the entertainment entailed so badly. A different auditor was specifically selected because one defendant described him as friendly. And then there are the text messages. Liu allegedly texted an executive at the shell company asking for monthly quantity projections. He said just a rough forecast will be fine, so that he could pitch NVIDIA on allocating more of the newer B200 chips. He was using the smuggling pipeline to negotiate for better inventory from NVIDIA The art of the deal, baby. When a broker sent Liu a news article about Chinese nationals getting arrested for chip smuggling, Liu responded with sobbing emojis. He's just like me for real. He saw people getting caught for the same exact crime that he was committing, and his reaction was a crying face in the text thread. The stock crashed 28% on Friday, a super macro crash. It wiped out nearly $6 billion in market value. Supermicro is not named as a defendant, but this is a company that had already settled SEC accounting fraud charges in 2020. They faced a Hindenburg Research short report in 2024 alleging export control violations. They had its auditor, Ernst & Young, resign because they were unwilling to be associated with the firm, and they nearly got delisted from NASDAQ. The pattern isn't new. The fact that they keep getting away with things isn't new, but the scale is. So here's what connects this to the bigger picture. This happened in the same week that NVIDIA officially restarted legal chip sales to China with a 25% government revenue share, which is a whole other thing, how the government has a side hustle now. The US government is simultaneously approving legitimate sales through the front door and prosecuting a $2.5 billion smuggling operation that was going through the back door. So Liu is 71 years old, sitting on $500 million in stock, and he allegedly decided that the smuggling margins were worth 30 years in federal prison. Sometimes you think you've seen everything, and then there's a Friday news cycle.